Hi, my name is Dragan from AppAwards. I'm here today with Adam Howitt, founder and co-owner at WalkJogRun. AppAwards gives app awards to the most user-friendly applications in the world. Today I'm happy to announce that the winner of this award for the sport category is WalkJogRun. Mr. Howitt, congratulations to you and your team.
Thanks.
Can you tell us exactly how we should read the name of your app?
It's walk, jog, run. It's exactly as it reads. You start off slow and get faster. So from walking to jogging to running.
Yeah, because at Apple we were trying to read it like walk, jog, run. Anyway, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from England originally. I moved out to Chicago in 2000, and I've lived here for 8 out of the 11 years that I've been in the States. I was never really a runner. The website's about running, but I was never really a runner. I did a lot of sport, played rugby and soccer, but never really did a lot of running, apart from when I was chased down a field or a football field or a rugby field. So I started running in 2002 when a friend of mine was running a race here, a 10K race in Atlanta, and said, "Why don't you do it with me?" So I trained for the race and got really bored of looping around a parking garage where it was a little quarter-mile repeats. So I wanted to go out on the streets. So being a good Boy Scout, I took out a map and a piece of string and measured it out, and then thought, as a programmer, I should have a far more elegant solution than this. So I built the first prototype in 2002 where you would upload your own map, and then wrote the interface. So as you click, it would calculate. You'd have to calibrate it for the scale of the map that you were using, and then basically any map that you used would be worth using, so then you could figure out how far you've gone. Then in 2005, it evolved when Google Maps came out with their API, so it made it possible for you to be able to use Google's maps. Instead of having to find your own map, it just incorporated their API, made it far simpler to use. So we converted over to that, and that's why we are actually the original online mapping pedometer. Before 2005, we were the only people doing it, and then in 2005, there were a couple of other competitors that came into the market at that point. We got featured that year in November. I think it was in November. We got featured in an article in the Wall Street Journal about the latest breed of Google mashups, and that's really what escalated our profile, elevated our profile significantly. So we got a lot of traffic that day.
I have a question. We've been surfing. I've been surfing your app, and I saw that you have routes all over the world in all countries. These routes are created and posted by your users?
That's right. Yeah, it's free to create an account. So some of the routes you'll notice are created by guest, which means somebody who doesn't have an account. And then there are people who have accounts. The accounts are free, and it adds a couple of extra benefits that allow you to track all your routes in one place. So it's easy to find your own routes when you go back to look for them. But also it gives you the ability to favorite other people's routes, so you can keep track of the favorite routes that they have. But most importantly, it unlocks the training diary feature. The free account gets you access to our training diaries, where when you get back you find a route, you go out and run it, and when you come back, you can log it to your training diary, and over time you'll be able to see your progress against that particular route, week to week, month to month, year to year, how many miles you've done, your pace, your calories, how much weight you've lost, and that kind of thing. So it's a really great way to keep track of how your running's progressing, and especially if you're training towards a race. And then if you track your races, you'll be able to see all your personal records in one place as well, like a sheet to celebrate. This is my personal record page.
And this page is so you can track your progress, but you can't benchmark it against other people.
Well, not on your own personal page, but what you can do is if you look at a route that other people have run and added to their training diary, you'll see the course records. So you'll see gold, silver, and bronze medals for the top 3 people. So if you run a route that's pretty popular and other people have logged it to the training diary, you would see the top 3 times on that route by other people. So you can compete against them. It's something that we're looking to expand on in the future as well to make it even more competitive.
And how can you be sure that the person actually did that time?
Well, we have to go on internet trust, which I know is not necessarily a great thing. And unfortunately, we don't know we do know whether they cycled it or not. But by clicking on the user's name, you'll be able to go through on their link when you see the course record. You can go click on that record to go and see the training session in their diary to see, is this somebody who is training a lot? What kind of workout was it for them? Was this an all-out effort? How was their heart rate? Were they cycling? Were they walking? Because if somebody cycled it, then obviously the cyclists are going to trump that course record. But at least you get to see the course records. It will show the course records. But on that session page as well, it will also show your own, for a given course, it will also show you your own personal records over time. So you'll be able to see, at the very least, are you beating yourself? So you may be faster than you were 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, which is always a good motivator to keep on doing.
Right, and that's our motto really for the training diaries. The training diary theme is that it's you versus yourself. You know, unless you're one of the top 1% of people who actually go out and win races, then the majority of your time you're really only ever racing against yourself and trying to self-improve on your own times, as opposed. But it is always nice to beat a neighbor every now and then in a 3-mile loop around the block or 5K.
Then, can I ask you, you said that you got the inspiration when a friend of yours said he wanted to participate in a 10-mile race, and then you wanted to join him. After you got the inspiration to develop this app, what were the first steps you took?
The first steps were really to sketch out the app. I mean, I know it came really straight from something I learned in Scouts, which is if you need to figure out how far... if you have a map and you have a piece of string, you can bend the route around to match the route that you actually took. And then if you measure the length of the piece of string and you know how the map is calibrated, you know how many inches per mile or centimeters per mile, you can then figure out the length of the string that you used and then figure out the total distance. So I took that concept and figured, well, as a programmer, I know that the screen is divided into a series of pixels. So if I know how many pixels it takes to do the scale, so you click at the start of the scale, the end of the scale, it will tell me how long the scale is, and then you put in the value that represents the distance that scale, because depending on how zoomed in your map is, the scale marker may be a mile, it may be 50 miles or 100 miles, or in kilometers. So once you enter that distance to calibrate it, then I know how many pixels represent a mile. So then the other thing you can do at that particular time as well, a lot of dynamic JavaScript wasn't happening. So a lot of sites weren't very dynamic. Ajax was something I'd done a little bit of, even though the concept of Ajax hadn't actually been born. It was still something that was possible. I saw a presentation from a Chinese developer that showed me how to do these kind of things. But the reason I mention that is that JavaScript wasn't quite as well adopted as it is today. I mean, it was in use, but it was for kind of trivial things. So the idea of dynamically adding a div element, which is the thing that draws the straight line across the map to say from point A to point B, that was non-trivial at the time. So it was a case of using something called the canvas approach and being able to draw a line on top of this image, create these divs on the fly, and then once I drew that, to figure out the point-to-point distance from each and add it up as you go along and store that all in JavaScript.
Oh, yeah, it was complicated back then. Okay, but you overcame that obstacle, apparently. Can you tell us a bit more on what route is WalkJogRun right now?
The app is growing quite well. We have about 16,000 visitors a day from around the world who come by to use the site. A large number of those come from the US and the UK, but we also have a lot in Australia and Canada. So one of our big goals is we've just hired somebody to help with our customer service, because we get, obviously with 16,000 people, we get a lot of requests for help, people who are either having trouble with a certain feature of the app. So we've been tending very carefully to making sure that people's questions are answered, because it's a lot easier to be more successful with the people you have on your website than it is to go and try and attract a larger audience. And what we found is that the customer service is the best testimonial that you'll ever get when somebody says, I found this great site and I love it. So our goal is to get, if everybody who used the site said, I use their customer service tool, the help.walkjogrun.net, and we're able to get the answer they needed if they needed help, then if they would grade us an A, that's kind of where we want to be right now, is that everybody either knows how to use the site or can get the site to do what they need it to do without any problems. So that's kind of our immediate goal. The future, where we're going, is we've started doing a bit of work with some charities. So we put together a charity page to help charity organizations promote their races using the site. There's some free, we offer some free tools, and we'll even offer some free ads for people who represent charities to promote their races. So if they give us an ad, we'll host it for free on the site to help them generate people to sign up for the races. So that's something we're trying to do. But we are also trying to extend the functionality of the site as well. So one of the next things to be added is an import for GPS devices. So if you have a Garmin watch, you'll be able to import your training data directly.
Yeah.
It's always been possible. Garmin provides a lot of great features to be able to do this, but the way that they make it happen, it doesn't work the way we want it to work on WalkJogRun. The way